Welcome everyone to my channel. For those who are new, my name is Monica. Today I am doing a review and a flip through of the 78 Tarot First Edition deck. Now this is by no means a recent publication. In fact, I've had this tarot deck for many years. It was published initially in 2014, and since that first publication there have been other editions, not of the same deck, but they've done other versions. Like I think there's a nautical one, there's an ecological one, and so on. So the idea with 78 Tarot, as it says on the box, is that it is a global art collaboration. So each card is created by a different artist. Now I have enjoyed having a look through this deck, and I've worked a little bit with it, but to be honest, I've come to the conclusion that for me, I prefer uniformity in style and design on a tarot deck. And the fact that this is created by 78 different artists and that you have 78 different styles and design or art mediums in this deck, it just doesn't really work for me as a reader. And so I decided to part with this deck. I have recently sold it. This is now out of print, but you can still get it obviously secondhand through your local tarot pages, those that buy, swap and sell. There's a few people that I've seen this come up now and then for sale, so it's not like super rare, but it's just it is out of print. One of the reasons that I don't think I gelled with it, well, there's a couple of reasons actually. So that's the box right there. It's fairly simple and straightforward. And when I look at the tarot deck itself, the card backs are clean and simple. The card stock is the first thing that I didn't particularly like about it. It does have a very heavy laminate feel to it, at least to me it does. And the other thing is that the actual the quality of the cardstock isn't that great. So what I mean by that is I haven't used this a lot, like I said, and already you can see, let me see if I can just focus this a bit. You can see the wear and tear showing on the edges of the cards. So the white, like scuff marks, you know, where you shuffle the cards and a little bit sort of comes off, right? So I can only imagine that the more you'll use this, that this will only progressively get worse. And that in itself might not be a bad thing. Like, I don't mind the feeling of a well-used tarot deck, but I just simply didn't, I really didn't like the cardstock. So that was, for me, cardstock, you know, how a tarot deck feels is like super important. It doesn't matter how good the artwork is if I don't enjoy shuffling it. And the second reason is that, as I mentioned, it's created by 78 different artists, and with some tarot cards the artwork resonates with me so much and I absolutely love it, and then there's others that I really don't like. And so for that reason I feel like I just can't really read with it for clients. And I also found that I haven't really used this tarot deck for myself a lot. Like I've used it for my own personal readings maybe half a dozen times. So yes, I decided to sell this. It is leaving my collection next week. And I figure that it's better that someone else makes use of it than for it to sit in my collection unused, because it's not one of those tarot decks that I know I will pick up again in a year. Like I just know I won't. Okay, so the deck is a 78 card deck, but it does come with 2 extra cards. So I should really say that it's more like an 80 card deck. So we've got a card called the Wild Fate, wild card. And then you also have a card called Chosen Fate, wild card. So it's up to the reader, obviously, if they include these cards in their readings. But for each card, let me get the full backup here. For each card you will have the title of the card and then the artwork and then it'll give you the artist, so that you will have you will know like who the artist is, which is, I think it's really nice to actually have the actual artist show up on the card, and that's for each card. So I will do a flip through and you'll be able to see that through all the 78 card flip throughs. Now, when I purchased this, and I can't even remember if this was a Kickstarter edition, I think it was, it did come with a pouch. And you can see the 78 Tarot logo. Well, maybe you can't actually. If I hold it up against the light, it's sort of embossed in this velvet feel bag. It does come with this, and it also comes with a really nice booklet that has, at the top it has a description of the general meaning of the card, and then underneath it there's the artist statement, which I rather liked. I like to read what each artist has had to say about how their creative process or how they interpreted the card. My only critique of the booklet, if I had to make one, was that I could really, like, the artist statement could really be expanded upon, and this made like a much bigger booklet. You know, I think that it would be really fascinating to actually read a bit more about each artist and why they chose that particular interpretation of the card, because they don't always say that. Like sometimes they say, you know, what moved them about the card or particular experiences, but you know, it doesn't give you a lot of space to actually go into full detail about their creative process. So anyway, nonetheless, it's a good booklet to give you a bit of a succinct snapshot insight into each artist and each card. And before I go into the flip through, I thought I would do 5 cards that I really liked and 5 cards that I really didn't like or that puzzled me. So let's start with what I didn't like so much. So here's the 6 of Wands. Now, let me say that I don't have an issue with the style of art, and I'm not being critical of the artist in that sense. I really like this card. Like if this was, you know, a painting in a gallery or on my wall, that's fine. But my issue is rather with the fact that I consider it to be mismatched to the meaning of the 6 of Wands, if that makes sense. Okay, that's just my personal feel about this card. So that's the 6 of Wands. Another one was the 9 of Wands. The energy and the atmospheric feel of this card to me do not match the 9 of Wands vibe. Okay, and that's just me. And again, I don't have an issue with the artists, how shall I say this, with their proficiency as an artist, or you know, their medium or anything like that. I just can't match what they're showing to the 9 of Wands. And I'd find it really hard to read this card in a reading for a client, I think. I mean, of course, they're wearing a mask, but there's not, that to me, that's not the 9 of Wands at all. Another one would be Judgment. I don't really know. You know, I get the idea of the geisha, you know, awakening some playfulness in the kittens or something along those lines, but it just doesn't work for me. Okay, this isn't the Judgment card for me. The Hermit, I found it way too harsh, and I also don't like sort of, it's got a feeling of apocalyptic sort of scenes, you know, dystopian futures and that sort of stuff, and that really doesn't gel with me at all, because I don't think that's where we're going, even though everyone's just about everyone seems to think that the world's coming to an end or something. And then the Devil, I found it very dark and disturbing, so I wouldn't want to read or have this image come up for a client. Yeah, I find this sort of art, for me, it disturbs me emotionally and mentally, and I yeah, it's not for me. Okay, so you know, and that's the conundrum with these sort of decks, is that inevitably you're going to come across artists that you won't gel with, and their art won't speak to you, won't resonate with you. Then there are some cards that I absolutely love. So let's have a look at some of the ones. I think that this is really cute. This is the Page of Wands. You know, it's absolutely delightful. You know, I've got a bit of a soft spot for kids' books and all those sort of things, so I love this. The Eight of Pentacles, my goodness, I love this Eight of Pentacles. I'd say this is probably my favorite card in the whole tarot deck. I love this particular style of art, and you know, I like a cozy kitchen. I like the creative process that goes on in a kitchen. I like yeah, there's something really beautiful and homely and wholesome about this, right? Even the rug and the cat sleeping on the rug, and gosh, I've always had a thing for kitchen sinks next to a window. That's, I love the idea of being able to look out with your kitchen sinks. Look, I just love this, okay? So I know it's a very personal thing. This is interesting. I love this card for the Four of Cups, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to include it in the cards that I love, because I love it, but it doesn't quite capture the Four of Cups. But nonetheless, I really love this. I love this sort of folk, I don't know if it's folk, but type art. This is me 100%. Absolutely in love with the colors and the depiction. But yeah, again, I can't see this as a Four of Cups energy very much. If anything, it's more of like a Five of Cups, because to me she looks a bit sad. Anyway, that's just me. The Star, a very modern star. Very beautiful. I do like that. I've surprised myself, because I wouldn't normally like modern twists with tarot decks. Well, it depends on how they're done, and clearly this is an exception to the rule. I really love the Star. And the Moon. I found this very moving. Something about the way she's sitting in this tree and the wolves on either side. You know, little mushrooms. And there's something that captures magic and potency. Vulnerability as well. So these are the cards that I have really enjoyed in this tarot deck. And up next, I will go through all the 78 cards one by one.